More than a third of people earning over $200,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck, and the people most likely to say they have no real savings habit, no system, no cushion, nothing quietly working in the background are the highest earners. Meanwhile, a retired school custodian in Ohio is sitting on a check every month that replaces 75% of what she used to make. The guy who replaced her boss is getting 33%. That's not a coincidence. That's the system working exactly as designed, and almost nobody who earns good money knows it's happening to them. So here's what this video is actually about. The assumption most people carry into their working years is that higher income equals a more comfortable retirement, and in some ways, sure, that's true. But there are a handful of structural and behavioral traps that specifically target people with money, traps that don't touch lower earners at all, or actually work in the lower earners' favor. We're going to walk through the most important ones, and the last one is the one that will probably change how you think about the whole retirement game entirely, because it's not about income at all. Let's get into it. The second most important thing you need to understand is what's quietly happening to six-figure earners right now, today, in real time, and it's not what you'd expect. On average, Social Security replaces about 40% of your pre-retirement earnings, and the higher your income, the lower you'll fall below that level. But here's where it gets interesting. For 2026, the Social Security bend points are $1,286.7749 in average indexed monthly earnings. Your benefit at full retirement age is 90% of your earnings up to the first bend point, 32% of earnings between the two, and only 15% above the second, which is why Social Security replaces more of a low earner's wages than a high earner's. Think about what that actually means in practice. A low earner may replace roughly 70% of income through Social Security alone, while a maximum earner replaces only about 29%. A software engineer who spent 35 years earning $200,000 or more, paying maximum Social Security tax and hitting the wage cap by April most years, logs into her Social Security account expecting a proportionally large benefit. Instead, she sees an estimate around $4,200 a month. A neighbor who earned a third of her income gets close to half of what she does. That is the formula working exactly as designed. The 90-32-15 design intentionally replaces a larger share of a low earner's wages. And here's the part that really stings. A high earner already past the second bend point gains relatively little additional Social Security benefit from continued high income work. You can grind for another decade, keep getting raises, and your Social Security check barely moves. The formula is progressive by law. It's not a bug. It's the whole point. So the lower income retiree walks in with a government guaranteed income floor that covers most of what she used to spend. The high earner walks in needing to fund the gap himself from savings he may or may not have actually built. And that's where the behavioral trap kicks in, because here's what the data shows about high earners and their savings habits. Be honest for a second. When was the last time you felt genuine urgency about building a financial cushion? If you make good money, probably not recently, and that's exactly the problem. Most people earning between 15,432s and 92,988s in 2026 fall between the two Social Security bend points, meaning they get meaningful but not full replacement. But the people earning well above that threshold, they're the ones who need to save the most aggressively, and research shows they're often the least motivated to do it. Job confidence, lifestyle momentum, the feeling that the income will just keep coming, it all creates a false sense of security that compounds quietly for decades, and it shows up in one very specific place: the house. A Utah State University analysis of health and retirement study data found something that sounds completely backwards at first. Higher household income actually predicts a greater likelihood of still carrying mortgage and home equity debt into retirement. Poorer households are less likely to be in that position. The people who look the most financially comfortable on paper are statistically more likely to be walking into retirement with a mortgage hanging over them, because the income made it easy to buy more house and the lifestyle made it easy to keep refinancing. There's even a documented group inside retirement research called wealthy spenders. Despite high incomes, a large majority of this group carries revolving credit card balances, often owns a second home, and roughly 1 in 4 is spending at least 40% of their income on debt payments. 40% on debt. These aren't people who fell on hard times. These are people who earned their way into a lifestyle that their income technically supports, but their retirement savings cannot. Same debt trap, two completely different causes. The lower income near retiree carries dangerous debt because there wasn't enough money. The wealthy spender carries it because there was too much, enough to say yes to everything, never feeling the need to say no. Two paths, one outcome. And here's the thing that's still coming, the one that reframes the whole title. I'll get to it in a minute. But first, there's one more piece of this that most people haven't heard. Between 2019 and 2023, the number of renter households with an income of $1 million or more grew from 4,500 to $17,700. Millionaire renters have tripled since 2019, outpacing their homeowning counterparts in one of real estate's most unexpected trends. These aren't people who can't afford to buy. Instead of dumping their capital into homeownership, rich renters are growing wealth by putting their money into stocks, bonds, their own businesses, or other assets. 1 in 11 millionaires is now a renter, up from 1 in 13 in 2019. Forever renter millionaires. That phrase sounds made up. It isn't. And what it tells you is that the smartest high earners have figured out something the rest haven't. The house isn't always the asset. Sometimes it's the liability wearing a very convincing costume. Now, if you're finding this useful, take 2 seconds and subscribe. We cover retirement strategy, behavioral finance, and the stuff most financial content is too polite to say out loud. There's a video at the end of this one that goes deep on withdrawal sequencing, which account you pull from first in retirement, and why getting it wrong can cost you years of income. Stay for this last point, then go watch that. Because here's the one that changes everything. Boston College's Center for Retirement Research studied the relationship between money and retirement happiness at scale, and what they found is that each $10,000 bump in income raises financial well-being by only 0.01 to 0.05 points on a 10-point scale, essentially nothing. But each $1 million increase in net worth raises it by 0.3 to 0.8 points, and one researcher identified a happiness plateau at around $4 million in savings, after which more money stops moving the needle at all. Let that sit for a second. The thing that actually makes retirement feel good isn't the income you earned, it's the assets you accumulated, and those two things are not the same. You can earn a very high income your entire career and accumulate very little if the lifestyle keeps pace with every raise, if the house keeps getting bigger, if the debt keeps following you forward. That's the real answer to the title. Poor people, or at least lower income earners, often retire richer in the ways that actually count because the system gives them a higher income replacement rate from Social Security, because they're less likely to be carrying a mortgage into retirement, and because they never had the option to inflate their lifestyle into a trap. The constraint was the discipline. The high earner had to build that discipline manually, deliberately, against the current of every financial temptation that comes with a big paycheck, and a lot of them didn't. So here's what actually changed from the beginning of this video to right now. The question isn't whether you earn enough to retire comfortably, it's whether you've built the systems and the assets that make the income irrelevant. Social Security's formula is baked in, the bend points are set. What you can control is how much you've accumulated, how much debt you're carrying into retirement, and whether your lifestyle has been quietly spending the future you were building. The custodian in Ohio didn't beat the system. The system was designed to help her. What she didn't do was let a high income talk her out of saving. Because knowing which account to pull from first is the difference between your money lasting 20 years and lasting 35. It's the system most people set up wrong without ever knowing it.